2019 has been a big year in the tiny house world, and certainly for us, a year of adventure and change and love. So we are transitioning from traveling all the time. If you've been following us, you know we've traveled 55,000 miles across North America, mostly in the US, crisscrossing, moving every week to every month for about four years.
Yeah,
four and a half years. But we're moving into a new phase of being parked in one place for several months to a year.
Which will be absolutely amazing. And we have a little car.
Oh yeah.
We got Alexis's Element back from North Carolina this summer and drove it back cross country. And so now we're in Oregon and we have a great little car, a little Honda Element to drive around.
Small compared to the U-Haul box truck we've been driving.
Yeah, but it is so awesome to be able to do a U-turn in a driveway.
See, this is the kind of giddiness that we're experiencing from being in one place. And what's funny, I've told a couple friends this recently, is I felt this giddy when we first started traveling. So I think it's a sign of a really good change. Like we're ready to be stationary for a bit. A big motivation for this change, besides just wanting to put down some roots a little bit, or to feel more grounded anyway, is because we need to edit this big docu-series that we've been working on now for about 5 years since we started building our tiny house. And obviously we do YouTube videos, we've done the Living Tiny Legally educational series that's still ongoing, but we have another series we're working on about the culture of the tiny house movement and the people, and we have this really exciting vision for 30-minute episodes that we're not going to tell you about right now, but anyway, we got to get moving on the post-production part of that. Yeah,
absolutely. So being in one place is really the best way to make that happen. So, you know, we've talked about this before, and it's really awesome to be in Oregon where we can go snowboarding. So we're going to do a little bit of snowboarding while we're editing. So it'll be a little bit of back and forth. So we can still get outside and do things and make that edit happen.
But there's been one big thing that's come between us this year. It's Winnie.
Yeah, this is Winnie.
Our new old dog.
Our new old dog, yeah. So this is my dog from a long time ago. She's 11. And I had her since she was probably, I don't know, I met her at 6 weeks old. So I got her at 10 weeks. So I've had her for a really long time.
Except for those several years where she was his parents' dog.
Yeah. So I moved to New York at one point, so she couldn't go with me. So she lived at my parents for about 7, 8 years, and now she's with us. So now we got a tiny house dog.
Yeah, and reminder, we live in 130 square feet, an extra tiny house, which is perfect for travel. And fortunately, it hasn't been too bad adjusting to a third full-time resident, but we did have to get rid of one of our recycling cans to make room for her dog food and treats. So sacrifices.
Yeah. Yep.
And there's an extra layer of tiny house choreography. Christian and I have become, after 4.5 years living in this house, it's very natural that the exchange, the compromise we have to do, the dance, so that we can live together in this little house. And it's not a big deal at all, but now we have to dance around this little gal.
Yeah. So the worst thing is her bed, but her bed actually lays right here on the floor.
Hey, Winnie.
After having her for quite a while now, we've gotten used to it, and yeah, it's working out great. She gets me out of the house every single day. That's one thing I love about having her with us.
And we're in our new parking spot in a backyard of this really sweet family, and it's fenced in. So it's perfect for her, and she made a new friend. We have our neighbor dog, And Kat, well, she's working on the friendship with the cat. Still a little dicey.
Yeah. You want to go outside? Come.
All this dog hair, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
We have to sweep every day, and it's this big clump of dog hair. So, tiny house reality.
Yeah, totally. Every year we get invited to some really amazing events. This year was extra special.
Yeah, we went to 3 super rad events, each very different in style and feel, but they're all so energizing. When we go to tiny house events, it's like I fall in love with the tiny house movement all over again. We went to the Atlantic Station Tiny House Festival in Atlanta, Georgia, hosted by Powerhouse Tiny House Advocates, Microlife Institute, and Tiny House Atlanta. Imagine this, a beautiful tiny house village set to the backdrop of the Atlanta skyline. A pretty incredible way to illustrate the urban infill concept of using a small, vacant, unused lot and adding value to it by putting tiny houses on it. And guess what? Every city in America has lots like that. So I love seeing this in action, and I can't wait for the concept to take off.
Another festival we went to was in Salem, Oregon, and it was Tiny Fest Northwest. And this had totally like a country fair feel to it. And you know, there's kids running around all over the place playing, and so many cool buses, vans, and tiny houses to see.
It had a really charming grassroots community vibe. It's put on by people who live tiny, for people who want to live tiny, and there's just like a really nice feeling to that. It feels like being inside a tiny house village. And maybe one of my favorite parts, besides all the wonderful people we talked with, was the back roads or bus. Maybe my favorite schoolie ever.
I knew it would be too. I went inside and did a little videoing, and when I was walking out, I was like, Alexis is going to fall in love with this. It's absolutely beautiful. So I filmed her and brought her in, and she was floored.
This is the best bus I've ever seen.
I told you.
Oh, look at this cat.
This sofa is awesome.
Oh my god. Yes, yes, yes. He loves the size. Oh, there's the toilet.
I asked her about the having the toilet on one side, the shower on the other. She likes it.
Yeah, I can see that making a lot of sense, and since you're living with more than one person, makes it more livable.
Yeah, they have 4 kids.
4 kids.
Where do you
have a separate bathroom.
Where do you put 4 kids in this house?
Yeah. I guess you gotta find out. This is where you put them. Well, lucky kids. They get to sleep in the universe over here, or like a unicorn paradise over here. And they still have play space. That's awesome.
Yeah, this one folds down. One on your right.
I think I've seen some pretty great buses for family designs, but this one has the most privacy feel.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah. Wow, this is kind of blowing my mind. Mind blown.
See, I told you.
I was like, this is my dream bus. I heart you. If you want a real tiny house community experience, you should definitely check out Tiny Fest California in February 2020. We will be there along with a bunch of incredible tiny structures. You should come.
You should totally come. It's tiny house related. You got to come. So one cool thing we got to do this year was MC at the Colorado Tiny House Festival. So that's something we've never done before. And it was a blast.
It was so much fun. It was the closest I think I've come to feeling like a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
It's not that I think like I'm that funny or anything, but it was just fun to be silly and to nerd out on all the tiny house stuff because we're super nerds when it comes to
Yeah, totally.
comes to this. If that hasn't been established already,
I try and say all the funny stories. She's just got all the good knowledge in her head. So.
aw, we're a power team.
Yeah.
High five.
The last event we went to this year was the Fresno Tiny Home Expo down in Fresno, California. And it was great. There were so many different structures there. We did a little video on it, so you should go check it out. It's down in the link below.
The event felt like a reunion. We got to see our buds at California Tiny House, the Mosey family, who've adopted us basically over the years from parking in front of their house so many times. So here we are in a city where you can live tiny legally, and we catch up with our friends Latch Collective, who are this wonderful community and advocacy group based in LA, where guess what? You can now live legally in a tiny house in a backyard in the second largest city in the United States. So, so this ripple effect that started in Fresno a few years back is turning into this big tsunami, positive tsunami of progress that is going to take off across the country. We really can't wait to see where this goes. And if you want to know more about tiny house advocacy news and events happening around the US and the world, check out our website, tinyhouseexpedition.com.
Speaking of websites, we have some exciting news. We are now proud owners of Tiny House Build and Tiny House Plans.com.
This was a generous gift from our good friends Andrew and Gabriella Morrison, who are both tiny house movement heroes of ours, and they've built these 2 sites over the last several years with a bunch of incredible resources. We're so honored to be taking the helm of these sites and growing them into even more wonderful resources for how-tos, design inspiration, you name it. And if you're trying to start your tiny house journey and you don't know where to begin, sign up for the free e-course available on each website. Link below.
Every year since we've been in the tiny house, we've taken some kind of amazing trip. One year it was to Alaska, last year it was traveling the Southwest, and this year we got to go to Hawaii.
2 van life friends of ours, Savannah and Wes of Tiny Watt Solar on Instagram, check them out. They got hitched on a beach at sunrise. Talk about magical. We got to be there to film it all, and we got to experience a place we've never been to before.
Kauai is an absolutely beautiful island, and we got to travel all the way around it and see some of the most amazing spots, snorkel for days. We snorkeled almost every single day.
And experienced that magical aloha spirit, which actually felt very familiar. It's a kind of vibe that we've experienced when traveling with the tiny house, where people are so curious and welcoming, and we get invited to fun stuff.
And that was just a taste of 2019.
It was another big tiny house year for us. And if there's one thing we've learned, that tiny living can be a ticket to adventure, whether you travel or stay put. And I'm really excited for that staying put part for 2020. If you want to see more cool things we were up to in 2019, check out all these sweet videos we released this last year, link below.
And thank you guys for joining us again. We'll see you next time. Take it easy.
Sparkle, sparkle, sparkle. Hey guys, it's Alexis.
And Christian.
Thank you very much for watching our video.
Yes, and subscribing to our channel.
And don't forget to check out more tiny house stories.
And tours.
Oh, and don't forget to join us on Patreon.
And again, don't forget to subscribe.
See you next time.
Take it easy, guys.